So he does 2 Anglican churches in Mexico. And we've been friends for a few years. We're the members of the same Franciscan community. The community of Francis and Clare is the name of it. He has spent many years of his life writing music and performing different kinds of typically one-person shows. The last one he did was actually in Greccio, where St. Francis created the crib 800 years ago this year. And it was a live nativity, like they have across the street, and like we had with the kids for school, and like we're having at 4 o'clock at the 4 o'clock service on Christmas Eve with our little kids. So I would appreciate your attention, which won't be very difficult. He's here to teach and to entertain. He's written all the music himself. He's going to be in the character of St. Francis when he enters, and I'm going to run to the school board meeting where I'm supposed to be right now, and I'm not. I was here this morning, so I heard him, but I'll be back hopefully for the reception. So it is great to have you all here. There is a reception afterwards in the parlor. Thanks to Sheila, who put it all together. She's our workhorse here. She does all the work, runs the place. She basically runs the place. And then she's back there shaking her head no. So I'd like to invite Brother James Francis to come in as St. Francis of Assisi, born in the late 1100s and dying in 1226. And I'll let him take over.
The birth of Christ among us, a great light shining through all these shadows, shining now so bright. You come to us from dirt and dust in a manger so fair and warm. This child received by those who believe, true God in human form. Human form. Holy, holy, Holy One, I am yours. Holy, beloved God, your saving the birth of Christ among us and within us, a great light, blessing us from age to age, healing us in your sight. You come to us from dirt and dust in a manger so fair and warm. This child was seen by those who believe, true God in human form, true God in human form. Holy, holy, Holy One, I am yours. Holy, beloved God, your saving power is sure. The birth of Christ among us, a great light shining now so bright. I can still feel the heat from that sacred fire. It started when I first made the decision to leave behind everything I once loved, money, prestige, because I wanted to see if it was possible to really do what Jesus said, to really live the gospel. It was a great decision, and it cost everything. But before long, there were so many other men who wanted to live as I was living. And Claire's decision to follow a similar path inspired so many women to come and live with her at the convent of San Damiano. But for me, my life was much more public than hers, traveling all over the world, sharing the heat of this fire that I felt burning within me. A short while before this, the tiny town of Greccio, when I first went there, it all really started a few years before that, when I first decided to travel to the Holy Land, in particular Bethlehem. This is where everything changed for me. You know, I realized that Jesus is being born every moment, not just that holy day in the city of David. He's being born in you right now, and you, and you. And that's what I wanted to share with people. I wanted people to be able to feel the energy of Christ being born, to actually put them into that position where they could smell the animals and see Mary holding that holy infant, and Joseph and the shepherds. The birth of Jesus isn't just something for our minds to entertain, but for our hearts to love. And if we can come into a direct experience of that, then just like I felt that sacred fire, I knew that one day the whole world would feel it as well. Holy fire of grace, be born as Christ lay in a manger, so my heart will mourn all the ways I turn away from you, all the times I have cried. I surrender now and claim what is true, and in that holy light I will survive. Your holy light, it shines so bright and calls me to be strong. Your will, O Lord, my true reward, has been with me for so long. Inspire me now to create somehow a vision of great worth that will claim their minds and prove to remind the holiness of your birth. Your holy light, it shines so bright and calls me to be strong. Your will, O Lord, my true reward, has been with me for so long. For so long. So, I guess I'm here to tell you the story of how the first Christmas nativity tradition began. It actually started with what is without a doubt the most foolish decision I ever made in my life. When I decided that I would go to meet the Sultan Al-Kamil of Syria in Egypt. He was the great leader of the entire Muslim world. I went to just share with him the message of love that I had learned from Jesus, thinking that if I could just share this with him, that he would end the war on his own. Now, before I go further, I want to say something about foolishness. It's highly underrated. I wanted to be a new kind of fool, one that I knew the world would never understand, but which Jesus would love. That's the thing about the wisdom of the world. It's always the opposite of the wisdom of God. The world believes that we're here to gather goods, but God knows that we're here to share goodness, not goods. Do you see the difference? Seek first the kingdom of God, and all of these things will be added unto you. And I could attest to that from my own life. I started off as one of the richest men in all of Assisi, but I was so empty until I gave it all away, shared it with everyone, and suddenly, even though I had nothing, I was probably the richest man in the entire world. And this is exactly what I wanted to share. But I realized that the surest way for me to receive this was to give it to others, to somehow be the source of this. Because in giving something, we always receive more. If I was hungry and I hadn't eaten in days, I would always find someone that I could give or share the little that I had. Or if I met someone, if I was lonely and I met someone who was even more lonely than me, I would spend time with them. In doing so, I learned what was probably the most important lesson of my whole life. That it is in giving that we receive, and in loving that we are loved. When I am hungry, give me someone that I can feed. And when I am thirsty. Show me someone who needs a drink. And when I'm cold, give me someone to keep warm. And when I grieve, give me someone to console. And when my heart feels too heavy and its weight I cannot bear, when I need someone to hold me, and it seems no one is there to lighten up my heavy load, give me someone who deserves to be loved just as I do. Give me someone that I can serve. When I need some time, let me sit with one for a while. And when my heart's heavy, let me find someone to make smile. And when I'm humbled, give me someone that I can praise. And when I grieve, show me someone that I can raise. And when I need some understanding, show me someone who needs mine. When I think of myself only, draw my thoughts to those who are kind. And when I'm so poor, give me someone who's in need. And when my eyes are blind to what is holy, let me see the Christ in the eyes of each one whom I feed. Let me see the Christ in their eyes. So let me get back to my story. I can remember a day when everything changed. I had heard a great and terrible proclamation that had come from the Sultan. He said that he would give a Byzantine gold coin to any Muslim who brought him the head of a Christian. I was with a few of our friars below Assisi. We were sitting in the grass at the time, and as soon as I heard this, I jumped up. And I screamed at the top of my voice, "That's where I need to go. I need to visit the Sultan." Of course, they pulled me down and told me it was impossible, that I would surely be killed. But none of that mattered. This fire was suddenly so hot inside me. Even the Pope tried to convince me not to go. But there was another brother, Brother Illuminato, in our community. He felt a similar fire. So the two of us decided that we would go on this journey together. Now, many people thought that we were going to try to convert the Sultan. And that really wasn't true. We weren't going to convert him. We were going just to love him. Because we knew that this is what Jesus would do. We knew that this was everything he taught, that we should love our enemies, do good to those who hate us. And if we couldn't do that in this situation, then we didn't know what we could do. We had no weapons. There was nothing we brought to protect us. The only thing we needed was the power of love. That would be enough. The power of love, a sword for the blessed. This path I walk now gives hope to those oppressed by a world that has forgotten the poor and all those in need. The sword of love I carry is here to feed, here to feed. For where else can I find love but in the eyes of all those I serve? They deserve more than this world can give. They deserve the love in which we all can live. And in living love, we forgive. Forgiveness is quite a word. And it's something that Brother Illuminato and I tried to carry with us as we began the long journey from Italy all the way to Egypt. We knew that if we could just love the Sultan, then a miracle could happen. And it was this miracle, more than anything, that we were holding on to. By the time we finally reached Damietta, which was the great fortress where the war was actually happening, we were tired, we were lost, but we knew we had to complete this journey. We didn't know if, as soon as we came in front of the guards, if they would kill us or not. But we had courage. Brother Illuminato and I, we made our way to the entrance of the great fortress. And Illuminato gave the greeting in Arabic, Salam alaikum. And as far as I can tell, the guards must have thought that we were Sufis. And so they let us in. And they guided us all through the fortress, directly to the great palace of the Sultan himself. And it was only when we arrived there that they realized who we really were. They beat us and threw us to the ground and tied our hands behind our backs. And just before they led us away, the great door opened and the Sultan himself walked out. And just for an instant, our eyes met. And it felt as if something had begun moving between us. And I knew in that moment that we had accomplished our great mission. Now that I've seen you, eye to eye and face to face, my heart will remember what mere words cannot replace. For the love that I am feeling overflows between us now, and I will allow when the peace of God does enter, the shadows will disappear as we move to the center and draw you near. And I hope that when I see you eye to eye and face to face, something new will be replaced, and pure love will be engaged. There was no trial. We were Christians who had somehow infiltrated the camp, probably to assassinate the Sultan, or maybe even worse, to preach the gospel. We were immediately led to a small cell, the two of us. And as soon as the door closed, Brother Illuminato and I, we began to sing and dance and celebrate. Of course, the guards thought we were crazy. They had no idea what was happening. All they saw were these two monks who were about to be executed, and all we could do was sing for joy because we knew that we had won a great victory. We hadn't been defeated. We had stood before the so-called enemy and loved him. And if that wasn't something to celebrate, well, then I didn't know what was. Sing and be heard, love and be stirred by the wisdom that overcomes this world. Dance and be strong, it won't take too long for the kingdom to be unfurled like a flag that covers a mountain so high, calling the homeless to their home, or a trumpet that sounds and makes a joyous cry, reminding you could never be alone. Dance and be strong, sing a joyous song, because heaven is almost here. Give all to all, it isn't hard at all to learn the lesson that makes love clear as a diamond you found that was lost, as clear as the river come spring. If you keep your heart open, no matter the cost, then the peace of God, I promise you will bring. All you really need to do is open up your heart and let love flow. There's nothing else you need to prove. Just keep an open mind and let go. Just let go. Let it all go and let love flow. Oh yeah. Dance and be strong. Sing a joyous song, because heaven is almost here. It's almost here. It's almost here. Suddenly the doors swung open, and two very large guards came in and bound our hands behind our back. And they began leading us out once again into the fortress of San Damian. We began to walk toward an area in the middle of the fortress, and we saw there two very large stumps, the place of execution. I remember looking over at Brother Illuminato. His eyes were closed and he was looking up, feeling the energy of this moment, knowing that the moment had come of our martyrdom. We approached the spot, but before we arrived, the guards took us to the right, and we began walking again through a village, actually the same area that we had walked through days earlier, until we finally arrived at the castle of the Sultan himself. They opened the doors and let us in. And as we stood there, there were two very ornate guards, and suddenly the Sultan came out. He stood watching us for a moment, wondering if the rumors were true about these two crazy friars who were dancing in the cells before their execution. I stepped forward and I said, "Salam alaikum." And he answered, "Alaikum salam." I wish I could tell you what happened next, but it was so deep and so pure that words could never say. All I know is that something began to move between us. We recognized one another as two great lovers of God. We actually spent 2 weeks with the Sultan and his Sufi teacher, Al-Din al-Farisi. We learned so many things about the Islamic faith, and they in turn learned so many things about our Christian faith. When it finally came time for us to leave, the Sultan gave me a gift. It was an ivory horn, which was the symbol of the Sultan himself, giving us permission to travel anywhere throughout the Islamic world as we wanted. But before we left, we looked at each other once again and offered that same peace that we had received. The peace of God I offer to you. Salam, salam, salam. Salam is peace in Arabic. The peace of God I offer to you. Salam, salam, salam. Salam. Brother Illuminato and I did travel throughout the entire area, visiting so many Muslim villages and camps, sharing this gospel of love. And finally, after weeks and months of traveling, we arrived in the Holy Land. After spending time in Jerusalem, we went to Bethlehem, and it was there that everything changed for me. I can remember kneeling at that very spot where Jesus was born, placing my forehead onto the ground there. And it was as if suddenly the world opened up and time changed. I felt as if I could actually see the scene. I could see Mary and Joseph holding this precious child. Illuminato and I, after being in Bethlehem, we began the long journey back to Assisi. Along the way, I contracted a terrible eye disease, which made seeing almost impossible. But worse, I began to hear stories of what was happening in the order that I founded back in Italy. The brothers were no longer very interested in truly living the gospel. They wanted things to be more comfortable. They were no longer interested in Holy Lady poverty. When I arrived, I realized that I didn't have the energy to try to lead them any longer, and they didn't seem to want me to lead them. So I turned the leadership of the order over to someone else. It was probably the hardest time of my life. I spent most of my time at the top of Mount Subasio in my cave, just praying and crying, asking for some kind of a sign. Where did you go, beloved? Tell me where did you go? And what should I do, beloved, if it's over? What should I do? For the flame is still burning, and the fire has yet to die. The fire has yet to die, and my heart is still yearning for the faith I can't deny. I refuse to deny, for the vision you showed me was so real. Yes, it was real. I swear it was real. And if it's all gone tomorrow, will I still feel? Will I still feel? I hope I still feel the touch of your hand in mine and the whisper of your voice. The whisper of your voice. All I ask now is for a sign, and if possible, a choice, a choice. For you are the choice I'll make every time. I'll make every time. And if others choose to forsake, I'll remind. I'll choose to remind. The poor and the lonely, they're all pushed to the side. But they're so dear to you now. Now a door has been opened, and I want to go inside. All I ask is that you show me how. For you are the choice I'll make every time. I'll make every time. Yes, you are the choice. I'll make every time. I'll make every time. But where did you go, beloved? Tell me where. Where did you go? In 1224, I was invited by Pope Honorius III to come to Rome because they were finally going to improve our rule, our way of life. And while I was in Rome, I visited the Basilica of St. Mary Major. And in this basilica, there are incredible frescoes of the birth of Jesus that reminded me so much of that sacred time that I spent in Bethlehem. On the way back to Assisi, I stopped at one of our friaries in a small town called Greccio. I was still so deeply wounded emotionally from everything that was happening. So I spent much of my time hiking through the forest. There were caves and rock formations. And as I was hiking, I came across a cave. And it was as if a miracle happened, because as I looked inside this cave, I suddenly saw the entire scene just as I had in Bethlehem. I could see Mary holding Jesus. I could see Joseph standing over them. The shepherds and the animals, they were all there. A short while later, I was walking back down the mountain, and I came across a friend of ours named Giovanni, or John. John had been a great warrior at one time, but then he had turned his life to peace. And I told him what I had seen. I told him of this vision. He said he knew exactly what we had to do and ran off. As I walked back to the village, every person I saw, it almost seemed as if they were angels in disguise. And I realized in that moment that we have to always be very careful, because we never know when we're actually entertaining angels. I'm entertaining angels. I'm opening the door. Everyone who comes to me is an angel to adore. The angel that I've been waiting for. Every child that comes to me, I feel the heavens unfold. And every smile that shines in me is an angel that I can hold. The angel that I've been waiting for. I can't seem to understand why you chose me out of everyone. You know how many times I have cried. But every time I look around, I see that you're the only one, an angel straight from heaven by my side. And this angel, straight from the heaven, I won't deny. I'm entertaining angels at my table, they're all the same. Everyone I welcome there is an angel that I have gained, the angel that will remain. I can't seem to understand why you chose me out of everyone. You know how many ways I have tried, but every time I look around, I see that you're the only one. An angel straight from heaven by my side. And this angel straight from heaven I won't deny. I'm entertaining angels. I'm opening the door. Everyone who comes to me is an angel to adore. The angel that I've been waiting for. I can still remember the night so clearly. I was alone in our tiny friary when I heard the noise, the sound of a huge crowd processing past. I looked out and saw that they were all carrying torches and candles. Some of the friars came and they took me by the arm and they led me outside, and I could see that they were all walking up the hill in the direction of this cave where I had had my vision. And we all walked together singing and praising God until we finally arrived, and suddenly the crowd became very still as we looked upon this scene. It was exactly as it had been in my vision. There was a young girl that I knew from the village who was dressed as Mary. There was even an infant that had just been born days earlier that she was holding. A man played Joseph, and all of the other characters, they had even brought in donkeys and sheep from the farms, all in this one cave. We all stood there together, looking at this sacred scene. I stepped up and I took the baby into my arms. Look upon the babe of Bethlehem and know that the time of the birth of Christ has come, not only into the world, but into our hearts. All of creation has waited for this moment, this sacred, holy moment when the Christ would come. So look upon this babe now, and remember not only that this happened so many centuries before, but it's happening right now, in this very moment. O blessed night, shine forth your light to all the world, that they may come to see this child so meek and mild. And then behold the Holy One, who shines here now to welcome this vow and the promise we receive. If we but claim this holy miracle, then we will believe Christ is truly born. Christ is truly born and renews the world today, in every home and every nation, bringing hope and salvation. O holy night, shine forth your light to all the world, that they may come to see this child so meek and mild. And then behold the Holy One, who shines here now to welcome this vow and the blessing we receive. If we but claim this holy miracle, then we will believe Christ is truly born. O holy night, so filled with light, receive us and erase the stain of sin. Your reign now begins, a world so full of grace. O holy night, shine forth your light to all the world. And that's how the tradition began, in a simple cave outside the village of Greccio. Of course, as we know, it inspired so many others. Even now, nearly every church in the world has a nativity scene. Across the street right now, they have a live nativity scene, just as I experienced in Italy, in Greccio, 800 years ago this year. 800 years ago. And look how it's spread, reminding each one of us that we only have one real purpose and one goal, and that is to become instruments of peace. Because if we truly do give ourselves to the divine as instruments, then Christ is being born every moment. Oh Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, bring your love. Where there is injury, pardon. burden, where there is doubt, bring your faith. And where there is despair, bring your hope. Where there is darkness, bring your light. And where there is sadness, your joy. O divine Master, grant that we may not see to be consoled as to console. To be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. We are now your instruments, beloved. For it is in giving that we receive, in pardoning that we are pardoned, and in dying to ourselves that we live. Oh Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Oh Lord, make me an instrument of your peace, of your peace. Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Do you have any questions or anything you'd like to ask? Greccio. It's Greccio, Greccio. In fact, 2 months ago, I was in Greccio, and I was invited to come and to share this musical that you just heard in the actual cave on the 800th anniversary. So this is the only other time that I'm doing it. This Christmas season is here. So Greccio to Houston. I wish we could have had more people to share it, but it was wonderful to have all of you here. Any other questions? The Sultan Malik al-Kamil, and then there are like, another 500 words after that, but but that's the basic name. They usually say the Sultan Malik al-Kamil. He was actually, the story of him, saying that he would give a Byzantine gold coin to any Muslim that brought him the head of a Christian, doesn't really sound like him, because, as Francis said, he was actually a very devout, very holy man, even though he was the leader of the entire military force. In fact, I'll tell you one quick story that happened right after the Battle of Damietta. The Christians were finally able to overcome the fortress, and those who were left from the Muslim army fled. And the Crusaders were approaching the Nile. And if they were able to take this area, then it would be a very quick journey from there to take over the rest of Egypt and then the Holy Land. So this was the goal of the Crusaders. And before they got to the Nile, they came to an area, a very large marshy area, that they didn't know, but the Muslims did. So what the Muslims did was they opened up the Nile and they flooded that entire area. And so the entire Crusader army was trapped. They couldn't move, the horses couldn't pull the carts or the chariots, and they were stuck there. And after probably weeks of this, they were starving and became disease-ridden. And so the Sultan instructed his soldiers to come and to bring them food and to take care of them. And so when this happened, the Crusaders were so overwhelmed, they stopped their movement and went back. Because the Muslim army was being more Christian than them. Isn't that an incredible story? So that was what the Sultan was really like. Any other questions? No. The Franciscan order is very interesting because there have been many attempts to try to return to that original vision. Originally there was only one order, but then now there are three groups within the main Franciscan Catholic order. There is the OFMs, which is what Father Bob was before he became an Episcopalian. And then there were the OFM conventuals, which is what I was when I was very young. And then there are the OFM Capuchins. So they always, many of them would try to go back to the original vision, but then they would just still get pulled into modern society. And now, as you know, there are Franciscan and many other orders within the Episcopal and the Anglican Church. How many of you even knew that the Episcopal Church had religious orders? A few of you. Most people didn't. But there are Franciscan orders and Benedictine orders, and so Brother Bob and I belong to one of those orders in the Episcopal Church. Well, yes? He was going to affirm the rule. What would happen, actually, at that time, they didn't want there to be any more religious community rules developed. They wanted new religious communities to adopt the rule of another order, like the Benedictine rule or the Augustinian rule. But Francis said no. In fact, one of the lines that I used in the musical was, he said, "I want to be a new kind of fool." And that's what he said when they tried to convince him to adopt one of the other rules. So he fought and he struggled to try and get his rule approved. And finally, that's when it happened. Pope Honorius brought him to Rome so that he would approve the rule that Francis had written. And the same thing happened to St. Clare. Many people don't give St. Clare the credit that she's due. She was the feminine counterpart to Francis, who started the women Franciscan orders. And she wanted to have her rule also affirmed. Most importantly, it was what they called the privilege of poverty. They wanted to have it written in so that all of the Poor Clare nuns would have the privilege of poverty, and no pope, no bishop could give them land or force them to take money. I mentioned how the brothers and the men in the order, they couldn't do it even in the time of Francis. But the nuns, they kept to it. Many of them still, but certainly up until the 1800s, they were all still very strict in their vows of poverty. And Clare held out because they didn't want a rule for a woman's order. But she was very famous by the time she was getting ready to leave the world. And on her deathbed, the Pope came all the way from Rome to see her. And as he's with her there on her deathbed, he said, "Is there anything I can do?" And she took out a pen. "Sign this." And he did. Isn't that amazing? Well, thank you, everyone. You guys are so lucky to have Father Bob as your priest right now. I'm sure you know that. So I'm just so happy. And I hope to come back and join you again someday. So have a beautiful Christmas. Have a beautiful evening. I think there's going to be some refreshments out here. So I'll see you out there in a moment. Thank you.